Welcome back to Roots and Rights, Securing Tomorrow. I'm your host, Attorney Greg Robinson. If you tuned in last time, you'll remember we dug into estate planning essentials, wills, trusts, heirs property. Well, today we're zooming in on trusts, why they matter, how they work, and, honestly, why they can solve so many headaches before they ever happen. So, let's start with the basics. What is a trust really? I like to describe it as a legal container, almost like a strong box that you fill with assets, your home, business shares, investments, you name it. But instead of you just having your name on everything, those assets are now held by a trustee. Their job? To manage them according to the very specific instructions you put in place for the benefit of whoever you choose, the beneficiaries. Now, some folks wonder, why use a trust over a simple will? It comes down to a few things. Avoiding probate, big one. Protecting your assets from creditors or lawsuits, and keeping control of exactly how and when your wealth is passed down. With a will, everything goes public and through the court when you're gone. With a trust, you keep things private and efficient. There's another layer here. Revocable versus irrevocable trusts. This always trips people up, so let me make it plain. A revocable trust is like one of those Tupperware containers. You can open, close, change what goes in and out as long as you're alive and well. If your family structure changes, or you want to add or remove an asset, no problem. But it only protects from probate, not from lawsuits or creditors while you're living. Irrevocable trust? That's like pouring concrete. Once it sets, you can't just scoop it back out. The plus? True asset protection and some great tax perks. The catch is, once you move that asset in, you've basically given up control. Let me put this in context. I had a local business owner, real sharp guy. Family business was tied up in his name and his wife's. They'd gotten a taste of probate after a relative passed. Let's just say they weren't eager to repeat it. We sat down, looked at all the moving pieces, and set up a revocable living trust. Instead of those assets ending up tangled in court or sparking family arguments, we moved them into the trust, kept everything private, and, when he unfortunately passed, things sailed through. No waiting on judges, no public drama, and a world less stress for his wife and kids. That's the core value here. A little planning up front shields your family from a whole lot of pain down the line. Now, if you think every trust is built the same, let me stop you right there. There's a flavor for just about every scenario, and some of them are pretty interesting. Take special needs trusts, for example. Say you've got a loved one, child, sibling, who gets government benefits. If you leave them money outright, you can kick them off those programs. But a properly structured special needs trust lets you provide for that person's extras, the things that make life better, without disqualifying them. I just worked with a family where the daughter needed long-term care. Instead of worrying about Medicaid, we set up a special needs trust. Now, she gets support for health, recreation, whatever she needs, all while holding on to her benefits. That kind of peace of mind, I can tell you, means the world to parents or siblings in that situation. Then there's charitable trusts. These are for folks with a heart for giving, but who want to get something back too, either income during life or even some solid tax advantages. Think about a charitable remainder trust. You set it up, draw an income from your capital, and when you pass, the rest goes to charity. Or you can do the opposite. Let a charity benefit first, then your family later. There's also spendthrift trusts. Maybe you've got that one relative who, bless them, just shouldn't get a lump sum check. A spendthrift trust keeps a trustee in control, so the money lasts and can't be blown all at once or snatched by creditors. And don't forget family trusts for generational wealth. I mean, we hear about the big names, the Rockefellers, the Johnson & Johnsons, using trust to shepherd fortunes from one generation to the next, skipping estate taxes along the way. But it's not only for the wealthy. More and more, families who value passing along property or business interests are using these same legal tools, sometimes called generation skipping trusts, to keep wealth together and protected. There's even qualified personal residence trusts if you want to pass real estate, life insurance trusts to maximize your payout, asset protection trusts, which, if you work in a high liability profession, can be invaluable. They all serve different needs, and the trick is matching the right trust to your family's goals. Choosing the right type is key. And honestly, this is where talking to someone who understands both your family situation and the law really pays off. All right, let's get real for a minute about probate. If you tuned in last time, you know I have a healthy respect for what can go sideways with probate. When someone dies with just a will, or worse, no plan at all, everything grinds to a halt so the courts can sort it out. Assets get frozen, family members might wait months or longer just to access basic funds. Deals can fall apart and everything becomes public record. In my own family, after my grandfather passed, we saw this firsthand. His assets were tied up so long in probate that my grandmother was stuck waiting just to get what was already hers. It was painful. Looking back, if we'd had a proper trust in place, that whole ordeal could have been avoided. But even when folks set up a trust, there's a mistake I see all the time. The trust doesn't actually get funded. What do I mean by that? Imagine you built a safe in your house to protect your valuables, but you left all your cash and jewelry in a drawer. That's what happens if you create a trust but never put your assets into it, forget to change the title on your home, or leave that retirement account out. Guess what? Those assets end up in probate anyway. I worked with a family, this was years ago, where the trust existed, but Dad never moved a dime into it before he passed. The family was back in probate with none of the privacy or speed they expected. So here's my advice. Don't just set up a trust and stick it in a drawer. Work with an attorney to make sure every asset you want protected actually gets moved into the trust. That's the only way it works. And make sure to review things regularly too, because life changes. Kids grow up, family structures shift, laws evolve. Keeping your trust up to date is just as important as setting it up in the first place. Well, that's our foundation for Trusts 101. Next time, we're going to get even deeper. More stories, more advanced strategies. If you're thinking, I don't know if my plan is set up right, take that as your sign to revisit it. Because the best time to plant that tree or trust is yesterday. The next best time is today. Thanks for listening to Roots and Rights. See you on the next one.